All right, welcome. Just stay right where you are. Don't go anywhere. We are going to talk about that word, that P word, prosperity. I'll be right back. Religion tells you that God is up there and you're down here. Religion tells you that God is over there and you're over here. Religion? Heard it all? I thought so too. Someone once challenged me not to think of the creator of the universe as just some big guy in the sky. I see it as more than that. This power helps us raise our kids. It helps us to get our businesses together. Makes us who we are. Now imagine this power not as some big guy in the sky, but as a power working in you. Now, how amazing would your life be?
Looking for something more? Go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. The Abundant Life Center for dynamic living through spiritual growth.
I'm Ed Montgomery. Looking for more? Hello, I'm Ed Montgomery. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host right here for Cracked Faith. And the reason I'm calling this Cracked Faith is imagine a pot with a crack in it. Pour it up full, come back later, and all the liquid is out on your table or your desk or wherever, and you're wondering what happened. And what happened is there is a crack in that pot. And what caused the liquid to come out of the crack was the pressure of the water or the weight of the water. Jesus called it pouring new wine in old wineskins. So correct faith is about our faith or our belief system, but there's too much going on out here in the world to handle, or our faith can't handle it. I'm going to talk about some things that our faith does not seem to be handling. So that means you got to go up another level of faith. How many of you are ready to go up to another level of faith, another dimension, another place? So take a moment. If that's you, I want you to go ahead and hit that like button. If you're on Facebook, hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button. Hit it now. And if you want to share it with some of your friends, share it with somebody. You know, a lot of times we ask people to share with anybody, but share it with someone you know. It keeps a bunch of junk off of some of your message boards and things of that sort. And also make a comment. If you are in another city other than the city of Houston, Texas, let me know what city you're watching this from, and or what state other than Texas that you're watching this from, or the country other than the United States that you're watching this program, this presentation from. Let me know who you are, what you're doing. Holler at me your first name. I can see I can't really see them, but I'll go back later on and I'll see all of your comments. So type your comments in. Let me know what you're thinking, what's going on in your mind. If I say something that may sound crazy to you and say, you know what, that sounds a little weird to me, I promise you, I'll look at it. And if it's something that we need to do, I'll come back the next week and I'll clear it up. Now, recently, I've been hearing some talk and some church chatter. Church chatter. Yeah. And what it's about, it's people are discussing if, how do I say this? I have to say it right, because if I don't say it right, people will take it the wrong way and they'll say, this is what I said. And I have to be very careful here. And so people have been talking about giving and prosperity, giving to the poor. What does that mean? Or planting a seed What does that mean? We're hearing a lot of these kind of stuff that we talk, this language that we talk in church. I want to add some more to it. They're talking about believing God for this, or I'm believing God for a particular possession. This is what I hear. Now, several years ago, and I mean several years ago, am I going to say a few decades? Yeah, a few decades ago, I wrote a book called Breaking the Spirit of Poverty. So believe me, I am acquainted with all of the type of word of faith, Pentecostal, Baptist, charismatic teachings on money and giving and all of these things. So I'm familiar with them all. And I deal with them from a different direction. So I'm just going to have a conversation with you. First of all, let me start off with prosperity. Prosperity preaching, prosperity teaching. Understand the word prosperity only means success. It does not mean money. Maybe in some circles you can categorize, oh, I'm prosperous, which means money. No, we think prosperity means money. What is called success is achieving something, maybe achieving a goal, maybe reaching something you have been after, and you, whether it's a marathon, getting to the end of it, building a business, and you finally finish that business, or constructing something, a new home. In other words, I have been successful at this. But money is not completely success. We think it is because you figure if I have enough money, then I'm going to have success. But we also know there are people who have money and don't have success. You have people who have $100,000 but are spending $999,999.99. So they're left only with a penny less every month that they're working on their budget. That doesn't sound very successful to me. Or should I say, that doesn't sound very money wise to me. Prosperity is success. So it's possible to have money and not have success. It's possible to have money and not be prosperous. So when you talk about prosperity preaching, well, what about the prosperity preachers? Okay. Evidently, this seems to be what, when you listen to the media, when you listen to news people, when you listen to most people that are out there on the radio, in podcasts, who don't go to church or have not been in church for several years, or they grew up a particular way, and you can always tell how long it's been since they've been in church by the way they tell their stories or by the way they try to explain prosperity. They'll say, well, the preacher gets up and the preacher asks the congregation for money, and there are little old ladies in the building who may not be able to pay their rent or be able to buy groceries, and the preacher says, you need to give this. Or they may call prosperity preaching when the preacher gets up and says, if you give this, then God's going to bless you. If you give $10, God's going to give you $100, or God's going to give you $1,000. And the little old lady goes in her purse and pulls out that little $10 bill, and which might be part of her rent or part of her Social Security money. And the preacher takes the money, and the only person that seemed to get prosperous was the preacher and the church. So this is what you hear. And I'm not saying there's not going on. You can find things like that going on everywhere. So that's what people call a lot of times a prosperity preacher, where the only one seems to be getting prosperous is the one who's preaching, prosperity preaching. The preacher's the only one that seems to be getting prosperous. Once again, prosperity is not money. Then you have what people have been chatting about, which is the poor. And one of the things they've been saying is some people are preaching, or it's a particular teaching. I've heard it before. Let me see. You don't give, well, if you give to the poor, you don't get a multiplication of your money, which is, I'll be just honest with you, that does not make any sense to me. If you give to the poor, if you give $5 to someone who's poor, then God will give you only $5 back. You don't get multiplication. But then they go on and say, but if you give the church money, or if you give it to the ministry, you've invested in the ministry. And if you give $5, then God will multiply it. And I would believe that multiplication would mean multiply the 5 times 2, that's 10, or multiply the 5 times 5, that's 25. They're not saying what the multiplication number is. So you got two things going on. If you give to the poor, and I've heard one of the scriptures that says, he that giveth to the poor lendeth to the Lord. In other words, so that means if you give the poor $5, then you've lent the Lord or lent God $5, and God is only obligated to give you back what you lent him. So you give the poor $5, and then that spiritually transfers unto the Lord, and then the Lord gives you back the $5 that you gave to the poor. That's the darn craziest thing I have ever heard. Can I be honest with you? And the more my lips move about this scenario, I'm saying this is the silliest thing I've ever heard. We talking about giving to the poor and lending to the Lord and waiting on the Lord to give us back something that we loan God. Why would we loan God anything? A loan has this connotation of, well, maybe it's something that God may not have. You say, well, that's crazy too, yeah? Or if we give it to the poor, at least, but you don't want to give to the poor because you don't want to get back what you gave to the poor. Now, if you give it to the church or you give it to the ministry, then you will get multiplication or investment. And if that's a seed, you will get back a multiplication. Even Jesus didn't understand, I shouldn't say understand, Jesus didn't know what the nature of the multiplication would be, because the multiplication could change based on what you're giving and where you're giving, or how you're sowing, or how you're doing it. So we're making this distinction between sowing and giving and sowing. What's the difference between these two? Jesus said that, I believe it's around Matthew chapter 13, when you plant a seed, some of it comes back, some 30, some 60, some 100-fold. Listen, I don't talk very long on these sessions, but some of this sounds definitely confusing to me. It sounds silly. And it sounds as if we don't understand what we're saying. Give is a loan. Sowing gives multiplication. But Luke 6:38 says, give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. That sounds like multiplication to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Hit me up. Tell me I'm wrong. I'll hit you back. But I know I'm not. And I promise you, listen, I'm gonna tell you a little something on the other end of this. Let me come back after this and tell you a little something else, and so I can finish this off because my time is going out. I promise you, this ain't cap, baby. Allow me to break in here just a moment. You know, a lot of people talk about the power of a seed or the power within a seed. We all know that inside of an acorn is an oak tree or several oak trees. Inside of a pine cone are pine trees, acres of pine trees. But where does the inside of the seed get its power from? I found this very interesting. The outer hull or the casing of the seed, which is very hard, it's what keeps the seed alive throughout the years. Even in Egypt, they have found seeds that are in mummies' tombs that are 3,000 years old. Plant them, and they still bring forth the fruit of what that seed is. Why? Because of the outer hull. When you put a corn seed in the ground, or when you put wheat seed in the ground or the earth, when you put any kind of seed in the earth, of course you water it and you have the sunlight to give it heat. So you got moisture and heat. And what does the moisture and heat do? It breaks down the outer hull of the seed until it becomes moist and pliable. But what does the inside of the seed do? Here it is. It eats it. It nourishes the inside. So the thing that is hard on the outside can become soft enough to be edible from what's inside. Let me say this to you. The power of a seed is not just you on the inside of it. The power of a seed is the ability to be able to take the tough things in life, the hard things in life, the unedible things in life, the things you can't swallow, the scars that won't heal. And when you allow the sunlight and moisture and rain and abundance to come upon it, it will get soft enough for you to feed on the tough things in life. And when you learn to feed on the tough things in life, you get stronger. Here's what a seed is. A seed is what you plant. Take a moment, plant a seed with us now to help us get our message out to other people, to encourage and build other people. Call the number that's on your screen. You can text to give. It's very powerful, very popular. You can say it 713-742-2035. 713-742-2035. You can also go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. Go online and give through that safe medium. It will do something for you. It will be a seed. And then when you're tempted to worry, how is this going to help me? Whenever something tough comes in your life, you just say, just wait. I'm going to use this toughness for my triumph. I promise you that. Giving will make you feel warm inside. Thank you. All right. And I just asked you to give something, didn't I? Of course I did. Because I know what I'm asking you to sow or give into something that I consider to be truth. Listen, I'm not lying. Bring Lion. Where's Lion? Is Lion here? Oh, okay. Bring Lion. I'm going to show you what Lion is. This is Lion. I'm not doing that. And I didn't have Lion here on the beginning part of the show, but I missed Lion because there's a whole bunch of lying that's going on out there right now. But you know what? It's not that is people is really lying. A lot of times people have not studied. They have not really taken the time to think about what they're saying to people. All of this about giving and sowing, I guess the church people is very important, but it can be very confusing. Listen, What we have to do is go to another level of our learning. Faith is not some commodity. That's why I call it crack faith. There's something wrong with our faith here. Not that it's bad. It's just that we got to go to another level here. Faith is teaching. Faith is trust. Faith is interconnecting. When Jesus says have faith, he is not saying have a commodity or have something that's big, small, little. We can talk about that. Jesus is saying up your game with your learning and your understanding. And when you understand these things, you'll begin to, I'll give you an example, you'll merge your concept of giving as well as sowing. It won't even matter to you about whether you gave something and only got that back, or whether you sowed something and got a multiplication. Why are you even making this distinction? Well, I don't want to give to the poor because if I don't get my money multiplied, then I'm not doing the right thing. Baby, you got to get to a level with God to where everything you do brings levels of multiplication. Every investment that I may have or that you may have, every investment does not yield one particular percentage. Every investment does not give you 2% or 5%. Investments give you different percentages. That's why Jesus said some 30, some 60, some 100. How you give. And we got the thing about sowing. We explain about sowing. Listen, I'm gonna do a class, a segment next week on crack faith. And I'm gonna talk to you about the problems, or I shouldn't say the problems, the real understanding of sowing. I'm gonna talk to you about a seed. And some of you think that whatever seed you plant, that's what you get back. That's not true. See you next week. Allow me to break in here just a moment. You know, a lot of people talk about the power of a seed or the power within a seed. We all know that inside of an acorn is an oak tree or several oak trees. Inside of a pine cone are pine trees, acres of pine trees. But where does the inside of the seed get its power from? I found this very interesting. The outer hull or the casing of the seed, which is very hard, it's what keeps the seed alive throughout the years. Even in Egypt, they have found seeds that are in mummies' tombs that are 3,000 years old. Plant them and they still bring forth the fruit of what that seed is. Why? Because of the outer hull. When you put a corn seed in the ground, or when you put wheat seed in the ground or the earth, when you put any kind of seed in the earth, of course you water it and you have the sunlight to give it heat. So you got moisture and heat. And what does the moisture and heat do? It breaks down the outer hull of the seed until it becomes moist and pliable. But what does the inside of the seed do? Here it is. It eats it. It nourishes the inside. So the thing that is hard on the outside can become soft enough to be edible from what's inside. Let me say this to you. The power of a seed is not just you on the inside of it. The power of a seed is the ability to be able to take the tough things in life, the hard things in life, the unedible things in life, the things you can't swallow, the scars that won't heal. And when you allow the sunlight and moisture and rain and abundance to come upon it, it will get soft enough for you to feed on the tough things in life. And when you learn to feed on the tough things in life, you get stronger. Here's what a seed is. A seed is what you plant. Take a moment, plant a seed with us now to help us get our message out to other people, to encourage and build other people. Call the number that's on your screen. You can text to give. It's very powerful, very popular. You can say it 713-742-2035. 713-742-2035. You can also go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. Go online and give through that safe medium. It will do something for you. It will be a seed. And then when you're tempted to worry, how is this going to help me? Whenever something tough comes in your life, you just say, just wait. I'm going to use this toughness for my triumph. I promise you that. Giving will make you feel warm inside. Thank you. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that subscribe button. Smash it, crash it. Let us know you're there.